Football last night. Some positive and some negative results, shall we say. Liverpool becoming the first English side even to win all of their Champions League group games, finishing 11 points clear of second place Atletico Madrid. They won 2-1 at the San Siro, beating AC Milan. First of all, the first English side, it is quite incredible when you think about the history of the Champions League and some of the victories that English sides have had, that no team has ever gone unbeaten or has never won all 6 games in their group games.
Just shows how competitive it is. You've got the elite teams all vying, and difficult to go away from home and win, especially 3 times on the spin, as Liverpool had. 6-star performance from them in qualifying, you would say, and they've won it 6 times. So, yeah, it's quite a good achievement. I didn't think it was necessary last night. Obviously, they romped home in that group. But
they wanted to make history.
Get used to winning ways. You know, they've won another game. They've played a few squad players, and really successful night once again for Jurgen Klopp.
I would have thought, without wanting to be contraire, it told you the exact opposite of the competitivity, because the other teams in that group, despite their positions in their league, with Milan being top of Serie A and Atletico Madrid doing well in La Liga, for Liverpool to put out an almost reserve side and still beat Milan and to win every game that they've been, and they've destroyed Porto in 4 or 5 visits, I think it tells you as much about what's happening in Europe. I mean, Liverpool unarguably are a very good side, but that wasn't the Liverpool. Okay, Salah was playing, but if you look at the back 4, if you look at the midfield, they changed the whole kit and components. I mean, if you're top of the league in Serie A with a 40-year-old centre forward, and I don't know how to tell you how good he is from previous incarnations, it tells you something about other football. In fairness to Liverpool, 6 wins is outstanding. But you have to look at the competitivity of that group, because to have done that in the manner that they did it either tells you that Liverpool are so outstanding, or gives you some insight into some of the performances of the other sides, and more so when Liverpool put out a B team and yet still beat Milan.
So does that not mean that maybe they are outstanding because their B team still were able to beat
I think
full a strength
I think some of this B team,
put out?
Didn't look great last year in the Premier League and came under some real stress. Nat Phillips did okay, but there were times when there was great questioning about his ability and levels that he was at. I'm not trying to decry Liverpool's achievement, because it's an outstanding achievement, and Liverpool are an outstanding football team and in lots of ways an outstanding football club. But when you look at those kind of results and say you've marched through with impunity that league, or that table, that particular setup for the Champions League, I think it says as much about the competition as it does about Liverpool's excellence. But we'll take it, but the business end will start, because you'll start to get into knockout rounds now, and you'll see if that dominance continues. I hope it does. I hope that we dominate and that we get 4 teams in the semi-finals, or certainly 2 teams in the semi-finals, and make ourselves the champions of Europe in both tournaments, and in 3 tournaments, because I think we have the bandwidth to win the Champions League, the Europa League, and the Europa Conference. So a clean sweep would send real jitters amongst the European leagues, because they don't like the dominance of the Premier League anyway.
And I think on top of that, you have to say the man management from Jurgen Klopp, keeping his players fit, keeping them involved in the main squad, not making them feel alienated. We used to call it the bomb squad. I wasn't in it often, but the lads that weren't involved in the first team squad, they were the bomb squad, and they'd have to do a lot of stuff on their own, running drills and get training on their own. But obviously Jurgen Klopp, there's massive inclusion there with the squad. Everyone feels part of it. And then when they're asked to do a job, and on top of that, the suffering that Nat Phillips and co had to endure last season, making that Premier League debuts and playing game after game and getting beat, that will have only done them good. That will have got them ready and made them realise they're not quite where they need to be to affect the top level football. And I think that's probably a reflection of the performance last night, because they had that discomfort last year and that suffering. It's made them better and stronger players this season.
Simon did make a really interesting point there about the group itself. And when that group obviously was drawn out, it was deemed the group of death, looking at the teams that were in it. Now, it has been quite disappointing in terms of the other results, and Liverpool pretty much have walked it. With your Manchester City hat on now, Trevor, Manchester City lost their last group game.
They did.
They had already obviously sealed their progress to the last 16. So it was, in the whole course of the actual game, it didn't really matter for Manchester City that they lost it, albeit Kyle Walker's red card is ludicrous and he shouldn't have put himself in that situation. But in terms of what Liverpool have achieved in the Champions League this season, are you worried that they could be the team that upsets Manchester City's hopes of winning this one?
I'm not worried. I'm not surprised. I think Liverpool and Manchester City have been the best two teams in the Premier League for quite a while now. I think it's the biggest rivalry, and I know it's not got the history of Manchester United, it's not got the history of some of the other clubs, but over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, Liverpool and Manchester City have been the biggest rivals in English football, in my opinion. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I think looking at the beginning of the season, I weren't sure how the back four would fare. Obviously, injuries coming back from long-term injuries. But I feel they've done really well. They're right at the top of the table, or right near the top of the table, vying for the top spot. And apart from the West Ham result and a couple of indifferent performances from Liverpool, they've been as good as they've been for a while. So it doesn't surprise me that they're top of their group. Doesn't surprise me that they're near the top of the table. And I feel with the history that they've got in this tournament, there's a real love affair with the Champions League with Liverpool fans and the club. I think they are the team to beat.
What was Kyle Walker doing?
We've seen Kyle Walker do this quite a lot previously in his career, and under Pep I think he's kind of matured and he's started to understand that it's not about dominating individual players and actually kicking sand in their face as a matter of just when you see someone bullying someone, that's what he does to footballers at times. That's what he does to wingers. And I thought he'd shed that now, and he just wants to concentrate on the main goal, which is winning football matches. And I think Pep's got a lot to do with that and that maturation. Last night, I think we seen a little glimpse of what we used to see quite often when he was at Tottenham Hotspur.
It was more the immature Kyle Walker.
Yeah, it was rash. It was a red card. I'm sure Pep would have been fuming with him after the game. You know, what was it, 3 minutes to go? He doesn't need that. He's going to miss the first game in the knockout stages, and yeah, it is a blow for Manchester City. But also, I think for Kyle Walker, he'll look at himself and he think, "What was I doing?" He'll know he's made a stupid mistake, and it's going to cost him a Champions League game. It potentially could cost the club a really good result in the first leg of that last 16 games. So yeah, he'll learn from it. Hopefully it's a blip and we won't see it too often in the future. But yeah, disappointing to see him get sent off last night.
Yeah, Pep Guardiola certainly wasn't happy with it either. Obviously he had said he thought it was definitely a red card as well, no debate about that, but certainly not happy with Kyle Walker's conduct.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning 10 till 1 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.